Welcome to the Grounded Presence Podcast, a place for exploring authentic identity, deep community, and an ever-evolving spiritual journey. I'm your host, Daniel Powell, and welcome to episode 22, Inspiration Over Certainty. It's all about belief today, and I think we often equate holding a belief about something to being certain of it. And I just don't think that's how it usually works. I think belief isn't necessarily a matter of knowing rational truth, but more a matter of holding a point of view that's able to inspire. And on the other side of this intro, I've got a fun story to share with you about a belief that I've been sitting with lately. One that I've found pretty inspiring, but it's also a belief that I believe to be factually and rationally inaccurate. And it has to do with pop music, of all things. Not to mention that I may have found a way to work in singing you a pop song on today's episode. So it's a unique episode, to say the least. But without any further introduction from me, here we go, episode 22, Inspiration Over Certainty. Okay, here's the deal. I have to start this episode off with a slight addendum. Sadly, I'm not going to be singing you a pop song today, like I had said in the intro. Which is a real shame because I had recorded this really cool a cappella multi-part harmony of the Black Eyed Peas song, I Got a Feeling. And I think I did a really good job at it too. It was just about a 30-second rendition of the song, but I was clapping in the background to keep the beat. Then I brought in the acapella bass line. Bum, 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 bum. And then an acapella guitar line over that. Do, 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 do. And, then I sung it too. Just think one of those YouTube videos that I'm sure you've seen where somebody does that with some pop song, and then the screen splits into all these different parts, and then it shows them performing each part with their voice in real time on the video feed as, they layer these parts on top of each other. Anyways, really cool. It's a lot of fun, and I had a blast recording it, and I probably spent more time recording it than I should have. But right as I was about to click the mouse to post the episode, this little lawyer popped up on my shoulder and said, I don't know, Daniel, that might be considered copyright infringement to record parts of a pop song and distribute them across the internet. So, I was just like, okay, maybe it is. So I just said, stop the presses. And I came back and spliced in this little addendum in place of the song that I had originally recorded to start off this episode. It probably would have been fine, but I didn't want to do anything that might cause me any difficulty in distributing this podcast now or in the future. Because, hey, I want to keep doing this for a long time. But it was a good kickoff to the episode. It pained me to delete the rendition that I had recorded for you, but I think it was probably the wisest decision. So in lieu of that, to get things started, I'll give you a little taste I think I can without potentially violating anyone's copyright. And then I'll just drop right into the rest of the episode as I originally recorded it. And, I'm going to go ahead and apologize here if my voice randomly cracks. I've got some allergies going on, but I'll do the best with what I have to work with right now. So, here we go. Bum 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 do 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 do. Ooh. Oh man, that was a lot of fun. That's something I've wanted to do for a really long time, is record a multi-part harmony of a pop song like that, like using only my voice. And I finally had an excuse to do it for this episode, so I said, you know what? I am gonna take that opportunity. And I gotta be honest with you, I just love that Black Eyed Peas song. It's super catchy and it's fun to sing along with, but even more so, that song just took on a much deeper meaning for me a while back. And it's not because of the content of the song, but it's more because of the way I experienced it. And now in light of that, this song just has a way of awakening my imagination and inspiring me in a way that few other things can. And really, it's all just because of this silly YouTube video that I saw a while back and an argument that it generated between my wife and I. So the video I'm talking about is just a simple video shot on a cell phone, and it's this street performer with an acoustic guitar. He's got a microphone, and he's performing this song, I Got a Feeling, by the Black Eyed Peas. And have you ever had this experience where there's a popular song that you already know, but it just doesn't quite do it for you? But when you hear it in a different context, like being performed by a talented street performer, that it just totally unlocks a new experience within it for you. So that's totally what happened to me while watching this YouTube video. But this video continues from there, and it gets even better as it goes on. So maybe you've seen this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and lay out the scenario for you here. So for starters, it's not just any street corner that this guy's performing this song on. It's the intersection of Hollywood and Highland in downtown Hollywood, just a few blocks away from the Chinese Man Theater. So there's already this mythic energy of pop culture and entertainment that's just kind of in the air of this video, and you can feel it. And so this guy's performing with a little PA and a microphone and one of those little looper pedals that allows him to record a track live and then play another track over a recording that he's just recorded by clicking his pedal. Now, if you haven't ever seen somebody play with one of these, it's pretty dang cool. Like, it allows someone to lay down all these layers of instrument and vocal, kind of like I did in that intro, but in real time. So record one loop, have that playing in the background, and then just keep recording and adding additional layers on top of that. Anyways, it's really cool, and it creates some really cool energy for a performer. Like, if somebody's playing with one of those and they know how to use it, it always creates a really cool experience for the crowd. So this guy on the street corner is giving a great performance that I'm already into. And then on the street behind him in the video, you see this really nice white sports car slowly pull up. Somebody gets out of it and walks over and starts watching the street performer. But now, it wasn't just anybody who got out of the car, but it was will.i.am. It was the front man of the Black Eyed Peas. And the crowd that's watching this street performer starts to realize this, and they're like, what? Like, look who just got out of that car. And then the street performer notices him too, but he just keeps on playing his guitar and singing. So just like everybody in the audience on the street corner, I'm just watching all these events in amazement, and my jaw just hits the ground as I'm watching this. Just like, no way. Anyways, so the video goes on, and will.i.am actually joins the street performer on a second mic that this street performer had set up. And it's just a great experience. And then everybody's just having a great time. And after that's all done, I think will.i.am like signs a few autographs, whatever, gives a few fans hugs, and then he gets back in his car and drives off. And then the video ends. And at this point, I'm just like feeling starry-eyed and so inspired. And I just get to live in that dream world for a while where anything could happen and crazy events like this do happen. So when my wife gets home, I just run up to her. I'm like, Amy, I just saw this YouTube video and you have to see it. So I lead her over to the computer, sit her down, and bring up the video. She watches it, and while she's watching it, I just keep looking over at her while the video's rolling, but it's kind of hard to get a read on what she's thinking sometimes. And this was one of those times. But I keep looking over. I'm like, oh, this has to be blowing her mind. But I couldn't really tell. So the video ends, and then I turn to her, and I'm like, what'd you think? And she just responds with kind of a blank expression and says, I think it was staged. And kind of like, oh, what did you think of it? And at this point, I'm just a little crushed. I mean, she's basically told me that Santa Claus isn't real. And I'm like, what? No, that's pure magic right there. It's real. Like, that really happened. Why would a big name like that just join a nobody street performer on a street corner? So we go back and forth a bit, and she's like, well, why is there a second mic if he's the only performer? And I'm like, okay, that's a good point. And then she says, and how does will.i.am even hear this guy's song from inside his car on the road with his windows rolled up? And I didn't have an answer. So my wife just totally bursts my bubble with her interpretation of this video. And after thinking about it a while, I finally surrendered, and I got all grumpy, and I went up to my wife and I said, okay, you're probably right. That video was probably staged. But that interaction just ruined my day. Like, 1 minute I'm living in this magical world where anything can happen, and in the next that's all been sucked away, and I'm just living in this transactional universe where everything is thought out, everything is planned, and everything has a price and an ulterior motive. And that just sucked, because normally I'm the super analytical killjoy in our relationship. But I transcended that for just one moment, and it got handed right back to me. So I got all huffy for a bit, and eventually I rebounded from this experience, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to live in your world of rational skepticism about the street performer and will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas. I believe it happened organically, and I believe we live in a world where those kind of things can happen. And ultimately, that's what I chose to believe about this video, because that's the world that I want to live in. Even though deep down, rationally, I can accept that it was probably a staged event. I mean, yeah, he's got 2 microphones. He is a solo performer. That adds up. And he just so happens to be at this mythic intersection, and just by chance, there happens to be a crowd, and will.i.am happens to be at the right place and the right time with the big crowd, and somehow will.i.am hears him from inside his car. Oh, and the guy filming the whole video, he notices right away that it's will.i.am getting out of the car, and he follows him with his camera, which I don't think you would notice if you were paying attention to this really fantastic street performer, right? So I guess we have my very own Zapruder film here. But okay, so some stuff's probably organic, like the crowd that formed. I bet that organically happened. But will.i.am joining the performance, I'm going to say it was staged beforehand. And I can accept that, right? But I'm not going to live in that world. I'm going to live in the world where things like that actually happen. Not because it's how the events actually occurred, but deep down, I know that allowing my heart to believe that this organically happened makes me a better, more positive person, you know? So this is why this song's become so special to me. It's become a symbol for what I believe, what I want to believe about reality. And really, it's come to represent my struggle to believe the best about the world. Like, I just really want to believe that we live in a relational and benevolent world, not a cold and calculated transactional one. Like, I want to live in the inspired world, not the mechanical world. And it's just so funny how my wife and I could watch the same video and it could inspire us so differently and lead us to such different conclusions. And I guess at this point, I'm just going to make a jump into a shameless spiritual and relational parallel. But I feel like there's a huge lesson in this interaction. And Richard Rohr, love Richard Rohr, he says something along the lines of a point of view is just that. It's a view from a point, you know? And we're all standing at different points observing events happening all around us. And I know that I'm often so worried about whether the content of a belief is right instead of just being curious and observing how that belief gets at me or how a particular belief functions in someone else's life. It's like, how does it affect you? How does it get at you? Does it cause you to live with more beauty in your daily life? Does it give you more energy to invest in others at the end of the day? Like, beliefs that do that, those are the beliefs that are worth having and pursuing. So as far as my experience with this Black Eyed Peas song and this YouTube video, yeah, believing the mythology of what I saw, that causes me to live with more beauty. So for me, that is the correct belief, regardless of whether or not I'm interpreting the events as they actually occurred in reality. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if it affects me and it gets at me in a positive way, that's a good belief. Like, beliefs should be measured by how they cause you to live with the world around you. And yeah, just zooming out one step further, I think this is the central question of religion that my generation, like our generation in particular, is asking right now. It's, does religion cause people to live with more beauty? I would say in many cases that it does. But there's also a lot of harm caused by religious beliefs. But my question is it religious beliefs that are causing the harm? Or is it human tendency that's causing all the harm and the pain? And okay, well, I should be upfront about it. It's not my question, it's belief. That's what I think is causing all the harm and the pain. Isn't religion in and of itself, but it's human tendency through the conduit of religion, you know? Because as humans, we have this drive, just wanting to get to the next stage and find equilibrium and just find something to hang our hats on for a while. And that's totally understandable because the journey of life and personal growth, like the spiritual journey, that's what I would call it. Like, it's a lot of work. And I think a lot of times we just want to break from all that work. So we get a little lazy. We're like, yeah, this is a good belief. This is a good belief for a while. And we allow someone else to tell us what to believe. And maybe some of it resonates, but you know, the rest of it is really just simply comfort with having a structure and some consistency. And that allows us to feel like we have it all figured out, like at least for a little while. So a little bit about me. I came out of a religious system, the system of evangelical Christianity. And honestly, I think there's a lot of beauty to it. There's a lot of beauty to the structure and the way everything's orchestrated. Like there's a lot that I found to be lacking in broader society that evangelical Christians are really good at, you know? Like I think Christians are really good at forming community. Maybe tribes is a better word for it. Let's call it tribal community. Because I think community, is everybody together, but a tribe is just kind of like a specific set, like set apart from the greater community, but that you feel at home in. And Christianity is really good at creating that space. And they're really good at coming together and meeting frequently. In my experience anyways, on top of this platform of a shared mission to save and redeem the world. Even though the particulars of that mission are a little skewed, in my opinion. And that said, there's this dark side to it too, where if you broaden your ideas past the common teachings of modern conservative Christianity, like when you're in these circles, you just get ejected from the community at worst, and at best you can remain in it, but your voice isn't trusted. So religion is like this good container, but it doesn't provide a lot of support for the journey beyond religion and the journey past religion, which, I think is really just the next part of the spiritual journey. And I think that religion holds a key role in the journey, but it doesn't hold the claim to it. And I think that's something that if you've been there, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. That religion is just one part of the journey. Like it's definitely not the whole journey. And it's really popular to hate on religion and fundamental beliefs. I don't know. In light of this, I'm just wondering, what if we flipped the script? Like, what if we saw fundamental beliefs not as like something negative or a regressive state, but more as a stepping stone to greater belief and like more universal, I hate using this word, but I'm going to go for it, more universal consciousness. And what if we saw these stages where somebody is like truly committed to something and sold out to something greater than themselves as a beautiful part of the journey? And don't get me wrong, it's a dangerous part of the journey if it goes unchecked and if it's not ever moved past. But there's a beauty to it as a season. Just like there's a beauty to that rosy-eyed season when you start working for a new company and you think that it's just going to be the perfect fit for you, and maybe it'll even be the company that you'll retire from. But in my employment experience, that honeymoon season usually ends pretty quickly, like within the first year, and then it's back to reality. And you start realizing that, hey, yeah, this place isn't perfect. There's some pretty big problems that need to be fixed. And spoiler, that it's not the perfect job. Wah, wah, wah. But back to my broader point here, there's just such a beauty to this season of romance and blind dedication, like within the spiritual journey, just like there is in this parallel season of the professional world, And anyways, I guess where I'm trying to go with this is just that it's really difficult and it's really scary to just try to trust the process, to trust that being a fundamentalist might, in the long run, lead someone into a greater capacity for love, and by giving them a more diverse set of lived life experiences. And yeah, I mean, I'm right there too. It fills me with a lot of fear and ambivalence to have this desire to really let people follow the entire path that's laid out before them, in a sense, and to judge things the way that they need to judge them in a way that will propel them forward and further down their journey of life. Yeah. So that was a lot of rambling and a lot of processing. And Obviously, I haven't figured it out yet. But I just have this sneaking suspicion that maybe we don't need to inspect what others believe for like factual, rational accuracy. But maybe we need to adopt a spirit of curiosity and find where the beauty is in any given belief. I think when beauty is prized more than accuracy, like it allows everyone to pursue greater and broader forms of beauty. So how are you feeling out there? Like I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just getting to unearth all those fears about trusting the journeys of others and trying to express this desire to witness beauty wherever it exists. And that feels good, but it's scary to think that, hey, beauty might exist outside of my parameters for it. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here, but I think I got one more story in me for you. I'll just close this out with another story that's been an important part of my journey. In seeing beauty where others might not, and in seeing beauty somewhere that I had refused to see it before. So just like my opening example of my and my wife's differing interpretations of the Black Eyed Peas video recording, this one also involves music. So a while back, a friend of mine was telling me about a Christian friend of his that would go to these open mic nights at coffee houses, and he would play praise and worship songs for the audiences. And at first, my response to that was just like baffled and frustrated. I was just like, what? Like, why would somebody go out and play those songs, publicly outside of a religious setting? Like most people don't want to hear those songs when they're out socially, and that's why you go to church. Like if you want to hear those songs. And it just seemed like a really stupid idea to me. But then I started to look at it a little differently, and I started to see the hidden beauty in it. And, just thinking of this person who I imagined as being very loving, being able to find so much more bandwidth and compassion and healing through coming into a religious belief, that they've just found so much relief through this, that they just have to go out and like tell the world and try to invite the world into this beautiful belief that they've found, and just doing whatever they can to invite others into this rich experience that they've found. And anything that inspires people to invite others in, I think that's downright beautiful. Even if, in like a broader spiritual context, those dreams of religion, inviting somebody into your tribal system to save them. Like, I think that's a great place to start. But it's like, that dream is just too small. It's too narrow. The idea of, universal healing and redemption within religion, like that's a really beautiful idea. It's just a shame that it's often only reserved for this small tribal group of people instead of being truly universal and, available to everyone. Now, I've never really talked directly about this on the show. I've kind of skirted around it, but my personal beliefs are very humanist and naturalist in nature, so I think, I'm not a big believer in the supernatural, but I am a big believer in transcendence in some form, and that, and by that I just mean that maybe I'll call it humanist transcendence. Just, to where I think like there's a lot of questions we can answer through science and whatnot, but I think a lot of times knowing the answers and the desire to be right and have the right answers can really constrict us on a personal level and on a relational level as well. So I think that religion kind of provides us with some tools and some beliefs that can really be brain hacks to make us into better versions of ourselves. So like the principle of having to surrender to this higher God and like to not know everything on a deep level, if you really let that sink in, that can make you a more relational being, because when that sinks in, you're a person who doesn't know everything. And there's this idea in Christianity, at least, in Christianity, they call it the still small voice. I would call it an inner voice. But if you're tuned into listening to that sensitive voice, like you're going to become a lot better at listening to others. And I think that's where the farther journey comes in finding the drive to see beauty in all life and in all stories, and the desire to see all life and all stories in their most healed and healthy state. And that's the state that I want to live in the most. The desire to see all things in their most healthy and most healed state. And I want to do whatever it takes to get there. And I want to let my brain believe whatever it needs to believe in order for me to embody that in the world. Even if that means that seeing a YouTube video where will.i.am joins a street performer on a street corner in Hollywood is inerrant reality, when in fact, it's probably not. It's a fun journey though, isn't it? And I hope I learn more someday, and maybe someday I'll have some answers for you. But for right now, I am just journeying right along with everybody else. And that's everything I have for you this week. I hope that there was something in there for you. And until next time, hey, pay attention to what you believe, but also pay attention to how it affects you. And is what you believe driving you closer to who you want to be? All right. Well, that's it. And I will see you right back here in 2 weeks. Well, thanks for listening to the show today. If you have any thoughts, comments, or stories you'd like to share, I absolutely love hearing from you. And you can reach out to me by sending an email to thegroundedpresence@gmail.com. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to rate and review it on iTunes. Those reviews will really help the show as it continues to grow. And lastly, make sure to stay connected with all the latest news about the show by finding The Grounded Presence on Facebook and Instagram @The Grounded Presence. And now also on Twitter @The Grounded